Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be making this cute little tiger. It is what I consider a no-sew body pattern, which means we're going to start by making the arms and then the legs, and then we're going to move on to the top of the head, work our way down, attach the arms, do a bit of the body, add the eyes, finish the body, add the legs, stuff, and clothes. And then we will have to sew on the muzzle, the nose, the ears, the tail, and then whatever little bits of embroidering that you choose to do. For this video, I will be using a number 4 medium weight yarn, a 4.25 millimeter hook, and a 14 millimeter safety eyes. This is a crochet along, so I will be doing every stitch with you, and I am also providing a drop down at the top of the screen with the pattern instructions for the first 30 seconds of every row for you to follow along with. And if you enjoy this video, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell. Not only does that help me out, but you will also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, shares, and comments are always appreciated. Okay, I think that's everything, so grab your yarn and let's get started. Okay, we are going to begin with the arms and the legs, and they're going to be exactly the same except for the very last 3 stitches on the arms, which I'll explain a little bit better when we get to the end and close our arms. So to start, you're going to make your magic loop, your ring, your chain 2, any way you prefer, as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I make a knot with a loop on the end as if I was just making a chain. Insert your hook. Grab your yarn, pull through, and chain 1. And remember, that does not count as a stitch. That's just attaching our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, we're going to do 6 single crochets into the loop going over top of the tail. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then pull that tail if you need to close up that hole. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we are going to do 6 increases, so that's 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around for a total of 12. So we're going to go in our first stitch, increase 1 and 2, increase again 3 and 4, increase 5 and 6, increase 7 and 8, increase 9 and 10, and our last increase, we're going to do 11, and on our 12th stitch of that increase, we're going to go in, pull up, and leave those 2 loops on the hook because we're going to change color now. So I'm done with the little paw circle, so I'm going to cut that color off. I'm going to grab my new color, the body color, and I'm just going to tie those 2 colors together nice and tight, as close to the hook as I can get it, 2 or 3 times. So I'm just tying my old color to my new color. And then we're going to take that new color, and we're just going to pull it through to finish off that 12th stitch of our last increase. Row 3, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase. We're going to repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. So 1 single crochet for 1, 1 increase for 2 and 3, and then repeat that around. So our single crochet for 4, increase 5 and 6, 7, increase 8 and 9, 10, increase 11 and 12, 13, increase 14 and 15, 16, and our last increase 17 and 18. Row 4, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that pattern all the way around for a total of 24. So single crochet for 1, single crochet for 2, increase 3 and 4. And then repeat that around. 5, 6, increase 7 and 8, 9, 10, increase 11 and 12, 13, 14, increase 15 and 16, 17, 18, increase 19 and 20, 21, 22, and an increase 23 and 24. Row 5, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 6, 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 7, 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. The next row we are going to be doing invisible decreases, and when we get there we're going to be going in the front loops for those. So generally you go underneath and around under both those V's in your stitch. For the front loop we're going to come down and up through the middle of those V's, and we're just going to be catching this front loop and then the front loop of the next stitch. Okay, so to begin row 8, we are going to do 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now we're going to do 6 invisible decreases. So remember, front loop, up through the middle of that V, front loop of the next stitch, up through the middle of the V, grab your yarn, pull through those 2 front loops, and then grab your yarn again and pull through the last 2 loops on your hook. And there's 1 invisible decrease. So we'll do that again slow. Front loop, grab your yarn and pull through, grab your yarn and pull through. So that's 2 invisible decrease. That's 3 invisible decrease. Can't get in that one. That's 4 invisible decrease. Make sure you're getting through the whole strand of yarn. That's 5, I believe, invisible decrease. That's 6. Then you should have 6 single crochets left to finish off the row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, for a total of 18. Row 9, we are going to start off with 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to do 6 invisible decreases. So remember the front loops of the next 2 stitches. That's 1 invisible decrease. That's 2 invisible decrease. That's 3 invisible decrease. That's 4 invisible decrease. That's 5 invisible decrease. That's 6, and then we should have 2 single crochets left to finish off the row for a total of 12. 1, 2. Row 10, we are going to do 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 11, 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and on our 12th stitch we're going to go in, grab our yarn and pull up, leaving those 2 loops on the hook because we're going to change to our stripe color now. And don't cut your yarn because we're just going to flip them back and forth because there's only a row or 2 in between our next color changes. So we're just going to tie our old color to our new color, nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it, 2 or 3 times. And then you're going to grab that new color and pull it through those 2 loops to finish off that 12th stitch of the previous row. Row 12, we're going to do 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then on our 12th stitch we're going to go in, pull up, leaving those 2 loops on our hook, drop your stripe color, pick up your body color, then you're going to grab that color and pull it through the last 2 loops on your hook to finish off that row. You may have to pull your strings a bit to tighten up those stitches. Row 13, we are going to do 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 14, we are going to do 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Then on our 12th stitch, we're going to change colors. Go in, grab your yarn, pull up, leaving those 2 loops on the hook. Then you're going to grab your stripe color, pull that through those 2 loops to finish off that last stitch of the previous row. Row 15, 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then on our 12th stitch, insert, grab your yarn, pull up, leaving those 2 stitches on your hook. Grab your body color, pull that through those 2 loops to finish off that last stitch of your previous row. Row 16, 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 17, 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then on our 12th stitch we're going to change colors, so go in, pull up, leaving those 2 loops on your hook, grab your stripe color, we'll pull that through, tighten up your stitches if you need to. Row 18, 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then again on our 12th stitch we're going to change color, so go in, pull up, leaving those 2 loops on your hook, and we are finished with the stripe color now, so we can cut that off. Make sure you're cutting off the stripe color only, and then we're going to tie that to our other one, our stripe color and our body color, nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it. Tuck that in out of our way if you can, and then pull that body color through, finishing off the last stitch of the previous row. Row 19, we are going to do 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So both our arms and our legs are going to look like this right now. And for the 2 legs, you're going to stop right here before you close. And for the 2 arms, you're going to do 3 more single crochets before you close. 1, 2, 3. And then for the rest of the arms and legs will be exactly the same. So let's take our stitch markers out, if you used one, and grab some stuffing. And I'm going to take a fair-sized handful. I'm going to split that in half. Half's going to go in the foot, and about half is going to go up the leg. We might have to take a little bit more out of that. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the front of our foot or our leg. So that'll be where we did all the decreases. We're going to put our stuffing in, and we're just going to kind of scoop it up into the toe. So I'm using the palm of my hand to keep the leg or arm kind of flat. Then I'm just kind of scooching that stuffing up. Then we'll put a little bit more in. I'm aiming to fill the back like a heel, but if there's lots of room there, I'm also going to scooch that up a bit and then add a little bit more. I'm working on the heel here. So we did the toe. Then when you feel like you have that firm enough, you're just going to slowly put some up the leg or the arm. And what we want to do is have it just not quite firm, just a little bit more, just a little bit squishy. And we want to have it stop about the last 2 rows. So the last 2 rows, I don't have any stuffing in. And no matter which one you're doing, arm or leg, we close them the same. We're going to start by going into the next stitch. And then we're going to go over into this last stitch. So it should look like this. And then we are going to do 5 single crochets across through both layers. So 1, into the next set of stitches, front and back, that's 2, front and back, that's 3. Make sure you're getting in both sides. That's 4. And then on the very end here, that's 5. And then you're just gonna tie that off and leave yourself a little bit of thread on the ends. We're not sewing them on, but I do something with the ends to help make them a little bit more secure. Okay, I am going to be putting a screenshot over in the next frame, so you can go back and do all the rest of your arms and legs. But before I do that, if you get going and you're not sure if you did an arm or a leg, when you did the arms, you did those 3 extra single crochets. So when the toe is facing you, your yarn is going to be coming out to the front. So right in front where the toe is. So there's your 2 arms, the strings at the front, and then your legs, when the toe is facing you, the strings will be coming out to the sides. And I'll remind you when we sew them on which is which. And if you're done all 4, just keep on watching and we'll continue on to the next part. All right, we're going to start at the top of the head now, and you can begin any way you prefer as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'll be doing a knot with a loop on the end as if I was making a chain. Insert my hook, grab my yarn, pull up and chain 1. And remember, that does not count as a stitch. That just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, going over top of the tail, we're going to do 6 single crochets into the loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then pull that tail to close that hole if you need to. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we are going to do 6 increases, so that's 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around for a total of 12. So increase 1 and 2, increase 3 and 4, increase 5 and 6, increase 7 and 8, increase 9 and 10, and our last increase 11 and 12. Row 3, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that around for a total of 18. 1, increase, 2 and 3, and repeat that around, 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, increase, 8 and 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, and our last increase, 17 and 18. Row 4, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, or repeat that around for a total of 24. 1, 2, increase, 3 and 4, and repeat that around, 5, 6, increase, 7 and 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, increase, 15 and 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, and our last increase, we're going to do our first half of our increase, so that's 23, then our second half of our increase, stitch 24, we're just going to bring our yarn up and leave it on the hook, our 2 loops on the hook. So we're going to change color, so we're going to do our stripe color now. Don't cut your thread because we're going to hang on to that. And all we're going to do is tie our stripe color onto our base color here. Nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it. Two or three times. And then we'll bring that new color through those last 2 loops to finish off that row. Row 5, we are going to start with 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to do 1 increase. So that's 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Then we're going to do 2 single crochets, 1, and on our second one we're going to change color. So grab your yarn, pull up, leaving those 2 loops. We're just going to drop our black. We're going to pick up our orange, and we're just going to loosely leave it in the back. So nice and loose along the back. And we're going to grab that orange and pull it through those 2 loops. You may need to pull your black and give it a little tug to tighten up that last stitch. And then we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, so 1 and 2 in the same stitch. And then we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1, 2, and on our third one we're going to change color. So go in, grab your yarn, pull up, drop your orange or whatever color you're using, grab your black, again nice and loose along the back, and then grab that yarn and pull it through. And all I'm doing is I'm pinching that color so that I don't pull that too tight. And again, you may have to pull your last stitch. Okay, now we're going to do 1 increase. So that's 1 and 2 in the same stitch. And then we're going to do 3 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that until we get to the end of the row. And somewhere in the middle, we're going to pick up this orange so it's secure over in this side and not hanging down across the middle. So 1, 2, 3, increase, 4 and 5. And repeat that. 1, 2, 3. Let's pick up our yarn here. So nice and loose along the back here. And we're just going to go over top of that and do an increase. So 1 and 2 in the same stitch, and then we can drop that again. Just double check that it's nice and loose back there. So again, repeat our pattern. 1, 2, 3, and an increase, 4, and on our 5th one, we'll bring up, keeping those 2 loops on our hook because we're going to change colors. So drop the black, pick up the orange or whatever colors you're using, and pull that through to finish off the row. So it should look like this. Okay, row 6, we are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 36. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and an increase, 5 and 6. And repeat that around. 7, 8, 9, 10, and an increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and an increase, 17 and 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, increase, 23 and 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, increase, 29 and 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, and our last increase, 35 and 36. Row 7, we are going to do 5 single crochets, 1 increase. Repeat that around for a total of 42. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and an increase, 6 and 7. And repeat that around. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and an increase, 13 and 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and an increase, 20 and 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, and an increase, 27 and 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, and an increase, 34 and 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, and on our last increase we're going to change colors, so 41, and as we do 42 we're just going to go in, pull up, leave those 2 loops on the hook, grab our black, and then pull that through to finish off that last stitch of that last row. Row 8, we're going to start off with 9 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then on our 9th one we're going to change color. So grab that orange and you want to loosely have it on the back. Drop your black and then grab that new color and pull it through. Again, make sure your colors are nice and loose. And now we are going to do 11 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then on our 11th one we're going to go in and pull up and we're going to change color again. So I'm just going to grab that black, again loosely along the back, drop our color we were using, grab our new color, pull that through, and now we're going to do 22 single crochets around, and we're going to pick up our orange our orange in the back somewhere in the middle here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 11 is about halfway. So let's just grab our yarn now, loosely along the back. We're just going to go over top of it, just like when you go over top of a tail. So 11, and then I'm dropping that orange again, and then I'm going to keep on counting. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and on our 22nd stitch we're going to change color, so drop that color, grab our other color, pull that through, make sure you're leaving that nice and loose on the back. Row 9, we are going to do 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 10, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, still 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, and on our 42nd, we're going to change colors. So just bring your yarn up, leaving those two colors or two loops on the hook. Grab your other color and then pull that through to finish off that last stitch. Row 11, we're going to start off with 10 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then on our 10th one, we're going to change color. So again, leave that orange nice and loose on the back side. Pull that through, and then we're going to do 11 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and on our 11th one, we're going to change color. So again, where's that black one? Nice and loosely along the back. Pull that through. Oops, I pinched with the wrong finger. There we go. This time I really got to pull that orange to tighten up that stitch. Wish I could show you better here. So see how it's stretched up? I just tighten it down like that. And now we're going to do 21 single crochets to the end, and somewhere around the 10th stitch we're going to pick up our orange just to tack it down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then let's just grab our yarn here loosely around the back. And we're just going to go over top of that one time for 10, and then continue on. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Then on our 21st stitch, we're going to go in and bring that loop up. And we're going to change color again. So grab our other color and we'll pull that through. Remember, nice and loose on the back here. Pull your other color tight if you need to. I'll just give you a quick look on the back here. So if I flip this around, none of these are super tight. They're nice and loose. That's what yours should look like. Row 12, we are going to do 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 13, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, and on our 42nd one we're going to change colors, so let's grab our black. Oop, my stitch marker in the way here. Pull that through to finish off that last stitch. Tighten it if you need to. Row 14, we're going to start off with 11 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and on our 11th one we're going to change our color. So drop that color and loosely bring that orange back and around. Pull that through. Tighten your last stitch if you need to. And now we're going to do 11 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and on our 11th one we are going to change color again. So drop that color and grab your black loosely around the back, or inside I guess. Pull that through. Tighten your last stitch if you need to. And now we're going to do 20 single crochets, and somewhere around the 10th stitch we're going to pick up our orange. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So on our 10th one, let's just grab that orange string and tack it down. I'm just going over top of it. So that's 10. And then drop that and keep on going. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and then on our 20th stitch we're going to change color again. So loosely on the back, pull that through, tighten your stitch if you need to. I'm losing my yarn there. Row 15, we are going to do 5 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that around for a total of 36. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a decrease for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and a decrease for 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and a decrease for 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and a decrease for 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and a decrease for 36. Row 16, we are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that around for a total of 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a decrease for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and a decrease for 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and a decrease for 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and a decrease for 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and a decrease for 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and a decrease for 30. And we're going to go in and out and grab our loops because we're going to change color. We're going to leave those 3 loops on the hook. Drop that orange, grab the black, and then pull that through. Whoop. Row 17, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 decrease, repeat that around for a total of 24. 1, 2, 3, and a decrease for 4, 5, 6, 7, and a decrease for 8, 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, 14, 15, and a decrease for 16, 17, 18, 19, and a decrease for 20, 21, 22, 23, and again our last decrease. We're going to change colors, so go in and grab your loops. You've got your 3 loops on the hook, drop your black, grab your orange, and pull that through. Row 18, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 decrease, repeat that around for a total of 18. 1, 2, decrease for 3, 4, 5, decrease for 6, 7, 8, decrease for 9, 10, 11, decrease for 12, 13, 14, decrease for 15, 16, 17, and a decrease for 18. Okay, our next row is going to be our arm row. So get those ready. So remember, those are going to be the ones where the toes and the strings are both facing to the front. And I'm going to change my camera angle so we can hopefully see better, and I will meet you right back. All right. So for row 19, we are going to start off with 2 single crochets. 1, 2. Now grab your first arm, and remembering that this is the back, you want your toes and your strings to be facing the front. And we are going to do 5 single crochets through the arm and through the head. So through the arm and through the next stitch in the head. That's 1. Through the arm, through the next stitch of the head. That's 2. through the arm, through the next stitch of the head, that's 3, through the arm, through the next stitch of the head, that's 4, through the arm, and through the next stitch of the head. And then we're going to do 4 single crochets across. Remember to get in the next stitch and not the same one, because it's really easy to go in the same one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now grab your other arm, and again you want the toes and the strings to be facing the front, and 5 single crochets through the arm and through the head. So that's 1, through the arm, through the next stitch of the head, that's 2, through the arm, through the next stitch of the head, that's 3, through the arm, next stitch of the head, that's 4, and through the arm, and the next stitch of the head, that's 5, and then you should have 2 single crochets left, and we're also going to do a color change. So 1, and then start your second one and leave those loops on the hook, so you can grab your new color and pull that through. And you may need to tighten that. Look how loose that stitch is for me. Really need to pull that one tight. Okay. Row 20, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase. Repeat that around for a total of 24. So 1, 2, and an increase, 3 and 4. And repeat that around. 5, 6, increase, 7 and 8. And as you're going around, make sure these strings are staying on the outside, because that's where we'll need them for later. Continue on. 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, increase, 15 and 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, and an increase and a color change, so 23. And then on our second part of our increase, just go in and pull up, leaving those 2 loops on the hook. Grab your other color. Row 21, we are just going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 22, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that around for a total of 30. So 1, 2, 3, increase, 4, and 5, 6, 7, 8, increase, 9 and 10, 11, 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, 23, increase, 24 and 25, 26, 27, 28, and on our last increase we're going to be doing a color change, so 29, and on 30 we're just going to bring up those 2 loops, grab our next color and pull that through, tighten if we need to. 23, we are going to do 30 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and on our 30th one we are going to switch back to our other color. Just pull that through, tighten that stitch if you need to. Maybe let's put the eyes in now. Alright, so get those ready, and I'm going to grab my darning needle. And now you're going to start right where your starting loop was. That'll be row 1, and we're going to count down between rows 9 and 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So right between rows 9 and 10, and I'm going in a stitch, not in a hole. So there's my pin, and then I have a hole on each side. And then just kind of have a look, just see if you're centered. Use your arms, or you can use your little stripes. And I think I'm okay here. So what we're going to do is, there's our pin. We're going to go in that first hole beside our pin, and we're going to count over 4. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then in that 4th hole. And then do the same thing on the other side. There's our pin. There's our first hole. 1, 2, 3, 4. And put that in the 4th hole. Then just have another look. Just kind of see if you're centered. I feel like that's okay. Just a stitch and a half and a stitch on this side. So if you're happy with that, let's put the backs on. And if you struggle putting your backs on when you're this far, a really easy way is to put your thumb on your eye. Then you're going to flip that out up through the neck. And then you have really good access to that post. So let's put the back on, give it a good squeeze. And then we'll do the other eye. So thumb on the eye, then push it up through the neck hole. Put your back on and give it a squeeze. I just got to make sure that other one's on good. I think so. All right. All right, let's get our hook back in. And for row 24, we are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 36. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and an increase, 5 and 6. And repeat that around. 7, 8, 9, 10, and an increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and an increase, 17 and 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, increase, 23 and 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, and an increase, 29 and 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, and an increase, 35 and 36. Row 25, 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and on our 36th one, we're going to change color. So pull up that loop, drop the color you're using, grab your other color and pull that through. Row 26, 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 30, and on our 36th one, we are going to change color again. So drop the color you're using and grab your other color. Finish off that stitch, pull it if you need to. Row 27, 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Row 28, 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and then 36. We're going to change color again. So drop your old color, grab your new color, pull that stitch tight if you need to. Row 29, 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and then our 36th one, we're going to change back to orange. And this time we are done with our stripes, so we can cut that color off. Leave yourself enough to tie. So I'm just going to cut my stripe color to my body color. Make sure you cut the right one. I have done that before and cut the wrong one. And I had a heck of a mess. Still fixable though. You just have to retie it back on. And then we'll just finish up that stitch. And let's put a little stuffing in now before we get too far along. So I'm just going to grab a fair amount of stuffing and slowly start adding it to the head. One thing I like to do though is I hold on to the neck to help protect those stitches from stretching. Then I'm just going to get it up high up on top there. I like to have my heads fairly firm since I use yarn to kind of bring the eyes in and to pull the ears together a bit to give him a bit of a shape in his head. Then as soon as I got the top fairly firm, I'm going to start kind of pushing it out to the sides as I go. Just be careful you're not stretching these stitches. It's really easy to do. I almost always do at least one row a little stretched. Accidentally. And then as you're going around, just kind of feel for little empty spaces around the neck. And then just kind of lightly add your stuffing where you think you might need it. I think that's pretty good. It's fairly firm. Now if you want, you can stuff as you go. I'm not going to add the rest of my stuffing until I get down to the last couple rows. All right, let's get our hook back in now. And for row 30, we are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 30. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and a decrease for 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, and a decrease for 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and a decrease for 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and a decrease for 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and a decrease for 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and a decrease for 30. Row 31, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. 1, 2, 3, and a decrease for 4. 5, 6, 7, and a decrease for 8, 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, 14, 15, and a decrease for 16, 17, 18, 19, and a decrease for 20, 21, 22, 23, and a decrease for 24. Okay, now we're going to do the leg row, so get those ready. And again, remember, when the toes are facing you, your strings are going to be going to the side. Row 32, we are going to start with 8 single crochets. And remember, if you're left-handed, you may be doing this row backwards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you should be right in the middle of your first arm. You're going to grab one of your legs, and you want to make sure the toes are facing the body and the head, because he's upside down. So when you flip him up This way you want to have his toes facing up. And now we are going to do 5 single crochets through the leg and through the body. So through the leg, whoops, wrong, my hook's on the wrong side. Through the leg, through the next stitch of the body, through the leg, through the next stitch of the body, that's 2, through the leg, through the next stitch of the body, that's 3, through the leg, through the next stitch of the body, that's 4, through the leg, through the next stitch of the body, that's 5, and you're going to flip those strings, your tails from your legs to the inside. Now you're going to do 2 single crochets. Make sure you're in the next stitch because it's really easy to go in the same stitch. That's 1. May need to pull that tight. 2. And then now you're going to grab your other leg. Again, make sure the toes are facing the body and the head. And you're going to do 5 single crochets through the leg and through the body. So through the leg, through the next stitch of the body, that's 1, through the leg, through the next stitch of the body, that's 2, through the leg, through the next stitch of the body, that's 3, through the leg, through the next stitch of the body, that's 4, through the leg, and the next stitch of the body, that's 5. And then again, put the yarn tail to the inside, and then you should have 4 single crochets left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's tie these legs now. So you're just going to tie these strings nice and light, just against the outside of the body. You don't want to pull them too tight because then your legs are going to want to go like this. So just along the inside edge. Then you can give those a cut so they're out of your way now. Let's get your hook back in. Now, if you want to stuff as you go, we only have 3 more rows left. So I'm just going to put a little bit in. For row 33, we're going to do 2 single crochets, 1 decrease, repeat that around for a total of 18. So 1, 2, and a decrease for 3. And repeat that around. 4, 5, and a decrease for 6, 7. Oops, I grabbed some stuffing. You don't want to do that, especially if you're using a dark color. 7. Oh my goodness, I got it again. Here we go. 7, 8, and a decrease for 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, 14, and a decrease for 15, 16, 17, and a decrease for 18. Row 34, you're going to do 1 single crochet, 1 decrease, repeat that around for a total of 12. 1 decrease for 2, 3 decrease for 4, 5 decrease for 6, 7 decrease for 8, 9 decrease for 10, 11 and a decrease for 12. Now if you haven't already, add the rest of your stuffing. So we don't need the body to be quite as firm as the head, but we do want to kind of make sure that it comes out a bit at the back so that when he's sitting down he won't tip over. So you just kind of want to make it more of an oval shape instead of a round shape. And what I like to do is kind of stick my fingers out, dig down into the side, and then I'm just going to stick the stuffing down into that hole I just made. And that kind of helps protect your stitches a bit, or I think anyway. We need a little bit more yet. And you want to make sure that the bottom is flat. You don't want it to be rounded, so you want this to be nice and flat. Let's see, maybe just a tad more. And then we'll close him up the rest of the way. So for row 35, we are just going to do 6 decreases all the way around. So decrease, 1, decrease, that's 2, decrease, that's 3, decrease, that's 4, decrease, that's 5, and our last decrease, that's 6. And then you're just going to slip stitch into the next stitch and tie off. Leave yourself a little bit of a tail for closing up the last little hole. Now I'm going to take my stitch marker out because we don't need that anymore. Now you're going to grab your darning needle. We'll thread on that end. And then we are just going to weave in and out of the top loop all the way around. So I always like to start from, whoop, look at that. I always like to start from the inside and go out, because I feel like that pulls my knot to the inside. And then just back and forth through those stitches until you get all the way around. If you are using plush yarn, I'd suggest going halfway around, pulling it and then doing the rest of the way around, because I find sometimes that yarn breaks so easy. The last thing you want is it to break right here when you're trying to close. And then we're just going to tie a knot in the next stitch. And then I'm going to come down into the center if I can. And then out the back somewhere. If it'll let me. I think I need to get a new darning needle. It won't even go through that stuffing. Give it a pull, which kind of brings that knot into the inside that you just tied. And it also kind of leaves a bit of a dent to flatten out the bottom of your little guy. And then let's put these strings in as well, the arm strings. So we'll thread one of those on. It doesn't matter which one. We do exactly the same thing for both sides. And what you're going to do is you're going to find where your tie-off knot was on your arm. And then you're just going to go down in that same stitch where you attached your arm. And you're just going to come out the middle of the neck in a hole somewhere. Oh, you can't even see that. So right there in the middle of the neck. And then do the same thing for the other side. Thread your needle, find your tie-off knot on your arm, and then go down in that same stitch and out the back in the same hole that you came out of with your other one. Now keep track of which string goes to what arm here. We're going to lightly tie it one time. Wrap the strings around the neck. Turn your little guy around. And now what we're going to do is we're going to pull on these strings, and it's going to bring these arms, the knot to the inside and the arms forward a bit. Now if one doesn't go like this one, just pull on whatever string it goes with until it pops in. And then you can give it a tie if you need to. I guess that's good enough. Mine doesn't want to go any tighter. Must be stuck on the stuffing there. Now tie it a few times to secure it. Then you're going to re-thread your ends on. Then you're just going to go back in that same hole and out the back somewhere. Cut those ends. All right, now we're going to do the muzzle, and you will have to make a knot with the loop on the end, or however you prefer to start a chain. What I do is I fold my yarn in half, grab up at the top, wrap that around your finger, down and through to make your knot, and then you just pinch that loop, and then I'm just sliding this knot up to make myself a small little loop on the end of my yarn. Insert your hook, and we are going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now starting in the second chain from the hook, so right here, we're going to do 1 single crochet for an end stitch. Then we are going to do 2 single crochets across. So 1, 2. Then we're going to do 3 single crochets across this end, or around this end, sorry. So 1, You're going to pivot a little bit. We want to end up on the other side of the chain. So 2, and then turn it all the way around. 3, all in the same stitch. And now we're going to do 2 single crochets across. 1, 2, and then we're going to do 2 single crochets in this end stitch. 1, 2. So you should have something that looks like this. Not flat, but there. Now grab a stitch marker if you're using one. For row 2, we're going to do 1 increase in this first stitch. So that's 1 and 2 in the same stitch on the end. Then we're going to do 2 single crochets across. 1, 2, and now we're going to do 3 increases around this end. So increase, that's 1, increase, that's 2, increase, that's 3. Now we're going to do 2 single crochets across. 1, 2, and then we're going to do 2 increases on this end. So increase, that's once, increase, that's twice. Now it should be looking like this. Row 3, we're going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase on this end. So 1 single crochet, 1 increase. Then we're going to do 2 single crochets across. 1, 2, and then we're going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase 3 times around this end. So single crochet, increase, that's once, single crochet, increase, that's twice, single crochet, increase, that's 3 times. And now we're going to do 2 single crochets across. 1, 2. Now we're going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase 2 times. So 1 single crochet, 1 increase, that's once. We're going around this last end here. 1 single crochet, 1 increase. That's twice. And when we do our second one, we're going to go in and come out and leave those 2 loops on the hook because we're going to change to our body color now. So we can cut this white, leave enough of a tail for tying. Grab your new color, and again, we're just going to tie those nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it, 2 or 3 times. And you're just going to grab that new piece and pull it through to finish off that stitch of the last row. Row 4, we are going to do 22 single crochets all the way around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Row 5, 22 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Row 6, 22 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and then just slip stitch into the next stitch, and we'll tie that off. Leave yourself enough of a tail to sew that on. So what I do is when it's doubled, I just wrap it around one time. That gives me more than enough, and then cut myself a little extra. And we can take this stitch marker out now. All right, we're going to do the little nose now, and I cannot get the black to show up. So I am going to be doing mine in a different color, and then you'll just do yours in whatever color you've chosen for the nose. And I'm going to be doing my knot with the loop on the end, but make sure you leave yourself a little bit of a tail, no matter which way you decide to start, because I'm going to be using my tail to sew up some holes. For some reason, my nose is really holy, and I'm not sure why. Okay, so insert your hook, and we are going to chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. Now for row 1, starting in the second chain from the hook, you're going to do 2 single crochets across. So 1, 2, and then you're going to chain 1 and turn. Row 2, you are going to do 2 increases. So increase, that's 1 and 2 in the same stitch, and then you're going to increase again, 1 and 2 in the same stitch, chain 1 and turn. Row 3, you are going to do 4 increases. So increase, That's 1, increase. That's 2, increase. That's 3, increase. That's 4. And now we're just going to single crochet down this side and then up this side. So I'm going to put another single crochet in that same stitch we were in. 1 in the middle, 1 in the end where we have our knot. I'm going to turn a little bit and I'm going to put another one in that same stitch. So I'm basically just going around the knot. 1 in the middle, and then 1 in the other end. So that brings us all the way around, and we're not putting any in the top. And then just slip stitch into the next stitch and tie off. Leave yourself enough string to tie it on. Plus, I also, to save a step, use the same string to make the little mouth. So I don't know, leave quite a bit. So I'm leaving, you know, this much here. So what's that? Probably almost arm's length when it's doubled, which will be way more than we need. And then now, look, if you see, look at mine, I have like a big hole here, a big hole here, couple little holes here. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure it's a tail, not your tie-off string. I'm going to thread that on, go to the back side, and I'm just going to go around like I was weaving in, kind of closing those holes up. So thread that end on. This also will help get your knot up out of your way as you're going. So I'm just going to catch a stitch on one side of the hole, a stitch on the other side of the hole. Pull your knot, but don't change the shape of your nose. You want that to stay kind of a point on the bottom. So that hole's pretty good. I might just go here. So I'm just kind of weaving around, just closing that hole up. So now I've got a hole over here too. And then I gotta try and fix this hole. And then just do that as many times as you need to. I might come around here too again. Just make sure you're not going through the other side. Have a look. I think that's okay now. This one's a little bit, but I think that'll sort itself out. So once you're finished, you can just tie that somewhere in the back. Excuse me. Again, not too tight, that changes the shape of your nose. You kind of will have a point on the bottom and then roundish on the top. So this is your bottom here, and this is your round spot, and this is where you ended. All right, now we're going to sew the little muzzle on, and we're going to start by putting some stuffing in. You want just enough that it fills out to the sides and is nice and full, but it doesn't go over top, so it's nice and flat here. And you can always add a little bit of stuffing at the end if you need to. I think I'm going to have to on this one, but we'll see. And I'm just going to be lining it up one row down from where we added our eyes. So we added our eyes here. I'm just going to line it up. If you're using the same eyes and yarn as me, it'll be just at the bottom of the eyes. So get it nice and straight using your center of your first chain stitches. Oh, mine seems like it wants to be up higher on one side. It must be my stuffing. All right, and when you think you have it, start putting your pins in. I like to start by doing one in the center at the top. And I'm going to do 3 across this line, and that will help keep your nose straight when you're sewing it on. And then we're just going to lay him down a bit. And just wherever his nose or muzzle falls naturally is where you're going to pin it. So I just have 1 row from the neck up is where this one's sitting. Usually I think I have a couple more rows, but just a couple pins in the bottom. Try and go straight across, but it won't really matter. Have a quick look. See if it seems straight to you. I think that'll be okay. And then you're just going to start pinning around the side. So I start by going on each side. And I'm probably lining up close with the edge of the eye here. And then kind of match that on the other side. And then once you have those 3 in, you should be good to just pin around. I have to pull this side up because for some reason it seems a little closer to the, there, see that fixed it. Just lifted it up a bit. Then make sure this one you don't lift if you're having the same. This is where I have my problems, is going diagonally past the eyes. I'm just going to reinforce right here since that is my problem area. Just so when you're going in and out with your yarn, you're not moving your nose around. The more pins you have, the better success you'll have at it not moving as you're going around. So I think I'll just do 1 more pin. And then one little thing I figured out myself, before you get going, if you have a trouble with your arms and your legs flopping in your way, because I'm going to be upside down a lot, so all this is going to be in my way, I just took an elastic band and wrap it around his arms. That usually keeps him pretty straight so that his legs stay straight too. But you can go down and do his legs as well if you need to. And there we go. So let's thread on our yarn. And we are going to start by going down around a row right where our finishing off knot is. So, and try and stay underneath of the muzzle, and then that will keep your stitches from showing through. So just like that, come back out. And then you're going to go up the next stitch. Okay, and there's the problem. Up the next stitch. Make sure you're only catching the V in your finishing off row there. Down the next stitch, around a row, staying underneath of the part you're sewing on. Up the next stitch, and just continue all the way around. Now you could, it's very tempting to come up the stitch into the stitch instead of coming out and then up. But I find if you have a hard time with your nose staying in the same place, this will help because you're not twisting it so much to get into that next stitch. And sometimes you might find you're going past your next stitch. That's fine too. So right here, I'm a little past my next stitch. So I just got to come backwards a bit and go into it. And see how I have stuffing out there? You want to make sure that is on the inside. And just as you're going around, just double check that you're staying where you have your, I can't get in that one, where your, where you pinned your nose. Make sure it's not moving. Alright, and this is where I usually tell you about my Facebook page. So I have a craft book face page. It's not my name. So if you're looking for my name, it's not that. It's art, designs and crafts, I believe. I can never remember if it's designs or crafts first. But I always have a link down in the description. So if you click more under the video, you have to probably click it twice. It will take you to my Facebook craft page, and you can just go in there anywhere on a post and you can put a photo or leave a comment. I always like to see what you guys come up with, colors you use, different little things you might add to it. I do have TikTok and Instagram, but I'm pretty sure I have not been on there since about this time last year when I did the little puppy video. I do need to get back there though and start posting all this new stuff. Now if you notice those three that I just did, I just went straight across in that same line. And then I just got to be careful going around here that I do the same thing on this side that I did on the other side. So if you have one stitch in between, make sure you have one stitch in between your eye and your muzzle. I feel like there's always something else I should be saying here and then I forget until I'm in editing. Alright, so I'm almost to the end. Here's my tie-off knot where I started, and I've got about 2 stitches left, so if you need to add more stuffing, you're going to want to do it now. And the easiest way I've found is to get I don't know, fair-sized small chunk. Maybe that's a little big. Then you just kind of poke it into the opening. Make sure you're under your stitches. So there's your little hole there. So make sure you're in the hole and not like in between any of these. And your yarn's on this side. And then you're just going to stick it in, start it, and then I just take my scissors and just kind of evenly push it down through. I might put a little bit more in there. So I push that all the way through. I happen to leave enough space that my finger will fit through, which usually isn't the case. And then you just continue going up and down the last couple stitches. past my knot, I think. Or wait, no, one more. So I gotta go up that stitch. So when I get to where my knot started, when you go in the round, it's sometimes not even. So I have this little kind of half vault stitch right here where I did my slip stitch, and then this would have been my first stitch. So I go around, I skip that, oh, I can't see. So this is my last stitch of the row. That's my slip stitch, and that would have been the first stitch of my row. So I come over, skip that slip stitch, and come down into the next stitch, and I'm just going to kind of come back and around just to kind of close that up and make it less uneven. So I pull that nice and tight so they line up, and then usually I just come up again, down again, so up again, down again, and then I'm going to go in and just come out some here where closer to the bottom to make your tie-off knot. And then you're just going to try and find a stitch that you used to sew on. So I'm not in the muzzle, I'm not in the body, I'm in an actual sewing stitch. And that's where I'm going to make my knot. And then just put that down if you can, out the back. Oh, it's not going to let me go there, so I'm just going to go out the side here. Give it a little tug to tighten it and bring the knot in. And then you're just going to cut that nice and close to the head. So it should look like this now. Alright, we're going to attach the little nose now. And I just have a little bit of end I didn't cut off, so I want to cut that so it's not in my way. So we're going to have to, why is it so dark on that side? So we're going to have our string going to this side. Remember, this is our top, this is our point. And we're just going to line that kind of on top of the first colored row. Just in the center. Our bottom should line up kind of where our single crochet row was. And we're just going to pin that on. Make sure it's straight. And again, I'm going to start at the top and I'm going to pin into that first row. So I'm in this row pinning. And then I'm just going to do a couple in the sides. So I should have the points right now on each side. And we'll do a few in the bottom. And I want to pull that point so it's all the way down where these holes are. That's another place where you could have left an end and weaved them in. 1, 2, 3, 4. For future. And my end sticking out. And then I'm just going to put a couple up the side as well because I do not want this to move. And while you're doing this, just kind of pull it to wherever you want it. So I actually feel like I got to move this one a bit. There's some kind of a kink right there. Just use your pins to pull it over. And I'm going to put one more on this side. Have a look, and then if you're happy with it, We'll thread on our tail. And just like we did the muzzle, you're going to start up where your knot is. I'm going to go down one and up, going around that row. And then coming up, I'm going to come up right close to where my tie-off knot is, just so I keep that point there. If you need to go around again, I think I might actually, just because that one piece is not coming up. Careful not to grab stuffing or you're going to have a nightmare pulling it off, especially if you've got a black nose. So again, just up and down, and I'm making sure when I stick my needle in, I am staying in that one first row of orange. And then going through both parts of the V of my single crochet. I'm going around a stitch here, just trying not to catch that stuffing, but it does not want to cooperate. And then when you get to this corner, you might have to do 2 around the same stitch again, just to make sure it stays on a point. I'll see here. It'll be the next stitch, I think. Yeah, go down in the next, I'm going to go down in the next stitch and come wrap around backwards so I can get 2 secured stitches in there and pull that point up where I want it. And then go back in the top and continue around. Make sure you're not going in the same stitch when you go down. And again, make sure you're staying under the nose so you don't see your stitches. Now see, I have a little kink there. Something's going on here. So again, I'm just going to fix this by going back down and around. I'm going to go into a lower stitch and come out and around that. And then hopefully that kind of pulled that little kink out. You might just have to play around a bit. I think it did. See as we get going here. I think so. And then we're getting up to the top here where we started. Oh yeah, that definitely helped. Then you're going to have to, you can tie off up here if you want. Let's do that. So I'm just going to come down I'm not going through any part of the body or nose. I'm just coming around this little V in the black of the nose. And then I'm just going to give it a little tie underneath of the nose, just so when I make the mouth now, I don't pull it too tight and my nose goes crooked. So you really want to make sure that's underneath so you don't see it. And you can just put it down anywhere. You're going to come out, I think how I did this now. You're going to come out a couple rows. Let's see, one, looks like I'm 2 rows down past my nose. So if that's 1 row, 2 rows, and this is going to be the little line. So you want to make sure you're in the center. And you can come back in and come out somewhere on one of the sides. Well, let's go this way. So I'm 3 rows down on this side, and you're going to come over to this side. So I'm going to come out somewhere kind of on the side. It's all going to depend how much you want your nose to go down, or your mouth line to go down, and how long you want it to be. So you may do this a few times. So right now I'm 2 stitches over here. So I want to be 2 stitches over here. I'm just going to go underneath of my vertical line. You kind of see if you like that shape, and if you do, just kind of see where it matches up on this side. And then come out the bottom somewhere. Actually, I'm going to come all the way here so I can tie a black black yarn by a black stitch. And hopefully I'm even. And I'm not really, but all right, I am going to change that. So you just pull it out. And redo it if you need to. So that is, here's my center, 1, 2. I feel like that's the right spot, but I'm going to go up 1 more. And then out to make my knot. Yeah, that's better. I pulled this a little bit, so I'll just fix that. I think my other one, I had a longer mouth on. But it's the same process. I think I might have went here and here. And then if you're happy with your mouth, you are just going to tie your knot, catching one of those stitches of black or wherever you ended up coming out. And then just take it out the back if you can. And give that a cut. I think we can free him now too. Let's take, there you go, little guy. All right, now we are going to just put the, squeeze the eyes together a bit. So you're going to take a matching strand of yarn. I'm just using the end that I cut off when I did the arms. So thread that on, and you're going to start in the middle somewhere in between the eyes. So I always just use the row that I put my eye posts in. Going to come down, catch a little bit of stuffing, and then you're going to come up just under the inside of the eye. Leave a little bit of string for tying. You're going to go around the eye. You may have to lift it to get that around. Then you're going to come 1 row down from where you went in. So I went in right here. I'm going to come down on the inside here, and I'm going to come over and match that on this side. So just on the inside of the eye. So I'm just like this. And then I'm going to wrap around the eye on this side. And now I'm going one row up from where I went in, matching this side. So I was here, I'm going to come up here in that same row I started. Try and get a little bit of stuffing if you can, and then come up in that same hole. All right. Now, I just want to make sure I got the right string on the right eye, and then we'll give it one tie. And we're going to pull them together, pull our yarn strings and kind of push our eyes down and together. And this just helps so you don't break your string. Well, mine are a little bit close here, I think, so I'm just going to pull them apart again. They will relax a bit. Like, I've done the same thing on a few of my guys, and I'm like, did I do the eyes? But I did. So whenever you feel they're where you want them, you're just going to tie that a couple of times. Rethread those ends on, and then we'll stick them out the back. Or wherever is easiest. Give it a good pull so you know that knot's through. And then you may have to fix the front. So this is where I tied. I got a bit of a hole there. It's not too bad this time. You can just smush these stitches around a bit and that should fix that. All right, let's do the eye accents now. So I'm just grabbing a little scrap of white. We'll thread that on. And usually I go down, but I decided to go up on this one, but you can go any way you want. What you want to do is start on one side, and I'm going to start on the outside of the eye, making sure that I'm catching a bit of a stitch before I hit the eye, because if I put it in here, it might slide under, but if I put it just inside the stitch, it'll kind of hold it in place. And then same thing on the other side, straight across, and leave about half on each side. So if you're going down, you go like this and just kind of play with it and go on the inside corner of the eye. I'm going to be going up like this. So I'm just going to go kind of at the 45-degree angle just on the inside of the eye. And then I'm going to come up here in the middle. And if you catch a bit of the yarn, that will help, or a bit of the stuffing, sorry, that will help kind of keep your string from showing through. And then just pull this loosely because you don't want it to slide under the eye. Then you'll thread on the other side and do the same thing. So you just want to match this stitch over on this side. And just make sure that your hole has a little bit of thread under or catch a piece of the stitch, so it won't slide under. And come out in the same place as your other eye string, and again pull this gently. And then we'll give them one loose tie and just pull them enough that your yarn is nice and tight but doesn't go under the eye. And then give it another good tie. Double check, and then we'll thread those on and put them out the back. And when you're doing this part, once you have your needle through, pull this really gently, and I like to watch, and as soon as that knot is through, I stop pulling. And then you're just going to gently pull your ends out the back. You'll give this a cut without pulling on your yarn, because you don't want those little strings to move. And then you can just take your needle and swipe that out of your way, and then again come to the front and fix that if you have a little hole left. Okay, and now we're going to do the eyebrows. Use embroidery thread if you have it, but I'm just going to separate a scrap piece of black yarn. So there's usually 4 sections in each piece, and I'm just going to take one section, and then I just pull it apart. So it'll be just like this. So we'll thread that on. And I'm going to go about 2 rows up from the tops of my eyes. So this row, 1, 2, and what I want to do is just kind of go around the center hole. So I'm going to pick this as my center hole. So I'm going to go over and around like this. Grab some stuffing if you can, and then you won't see the black thread if you're using black on light yarn. Keep about half on each side. And then I'm just going to go down 1 row, and I'm over, I don't know, about 1, 2, 3 stitches. If your eyes are in the same spot as mine, I'm just going 1 stitch over from this black top here. So right in there. Grab some stuffing and then come out the center. And pull this gently again because you don't want your eyebrows to be too tight. Thread on the other side and we'll do the same thing. So let's see again, I'm going to go about 1, 2, 3 or 4 rows over, and again I'm just going to be on the next stitch from where this, so this is where my black ended, I'm going in the next hole. Grabbing a bit of stuffing and coming out where I ended with my other string. Pull that lightly again. And then just kind of have a look if they feel even to you, or if they're not quite even, you can also give them, like so, this one seems a little longer, so you can give that a little bit of a pull. And then if this one seems a little longer, you can give that one a bit of a pull. And it'll help kind of even them out. I think that one's still a bit longer. There we go. And then we'll give them a tie. Kind of loose at first so they don't move, and then slowly a little bit tighter till that it's secure. And then we'll just thread those in again on our needle and out the back. And again, pull this gently. You don't want to pull your eyebrows too tight once you have them where you want them. So as soon as that knot's in, I'm going to stop pulling. There we go. Cut that again nice and loose. Don't pull on it. And then we can just fix that going over and swooping down across. All right, now we're going to start the ears. And again, you can begin any way you prefer as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'm just making my knot with the loop on the end as if I was going to make a chain. Insert my hook, grab my yarn, pull up, and chain 1. And remember, that does not count as a stitch. That just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, going over top of the tail, we're going to do 8 single crochets into the loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then on our 8th one we're going to change color. So we're going to go into our loop, grab our yarn, pull up, leave those 2 loops on your hook, and then grab your other color. And then we are just going to tie those 2 strings together nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get them, 2 or 3 times. And don't cut your other color because we're just going to be switching back and forth like we did on the arms and the legs. So now grab your new color and you're going to pull that through those 2 loops to finish off that 8th stitch. And then if you need to close the hole, I don't have one, you can't really tell, but if you do have a hole in there, just pull that tail to close that up. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we're going to do 8 increases, so that's 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around for a total of 16. So increase 1 and 2, increase 3 and 4, increase 5 and 6, increase 7 and 8, increase 9 and 10, increase 11 and 12, increase 13 and 14, increase 15 and 16. Row 3, we are going to do 16 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and on our 16th one, we're going to leave those 2 loops on our hook because we're going to change to the black. So drop your body color and pick up your stripe color. And then pull that through to finish off that last stitch of the previous row. Give that a pull if you need to tighten that stitch. Row 4, 16 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and then on our 16th stitch, go in and pull up, leaving those 2 loops on the hook. And we are going to be done with the black, so we can cut that off now if we want to. Leave enough to tie. And then you're going to tie your orange and your black together, or whatever colors you're using. Nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it. Two or 3 times. Then when you have that attached, you're just going to pull that new color through those 2 loops to finish off the last stitch of the previous row. Row 5, 16 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So it should look like this, and then we can pull our stitch marker out now because we're going to fold it in half and close it up. And now we're going to close it up. So we're going to start by going in the very next stitch, in the last stitch on the other side. So it's going to look like this. And now we are going to do 3 decreases and 1 single crochet. So decrease, that's 1. As you're going through both layers, decrease, that's 2, decrease, that's 3, and then we're just going to do 1 single crochet in the end. You may have to pull that tight to make your stitches look a little nicer, and then tie off, leaving yourself a little bit of a string for sewing that on. Now, if you have just finished your first ear, I will be putting a screenshot in the next frame with a timestamp so you can go back and do your second ear. And if you've finished your second ear, just keep on watching and we'll continue on to the next part. Okay, now we're going to attach the ears, and we are going to begin by marking them with pins. So what we're going to do is we're going to find our center loop, and we're going to go down between rows 3 and 4, even with the center of the head to about the middle of the arms. So 1, 2, 3, and then right there in between rows 3 and 4, we're just going to put 1 pin, and then we're going to count down 4 rows and put in another pin. So this will be row 1 where we have our pin in, 2, 3, 4. So just even down. Might put that one, no, let's see. Yeah. Then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just kind of even with the arms and the center of the head. And then again, we're going to count down 4 in between the rows. So 1 where our pin is, 2, 3, 4. And then just kind of have a look that they seem the same. To me, this one seems a little far ahead. I'm going to move them both 1 back. So that is where I originally was going to put them. So have a look on the top even too. Pull out the arms and that'll help let you know if they're even. I keep having to move this one back. Okay. All right, so grab one of your ears and we'll get that threaded on. And what we're going to do is we're going to go 1 stitch behind where we pinned. So this is the hole our pin is in. We're going to go 1 stitch behind and then come around that stitch and come up where our pin is. And then we're just going to use the other pin as a guide to go straight down. So now we got to go through the first stitch on our ear. I thought I was going to raise my camera view, but I can't. It's already as high as it goes. Then you're going to go 1 stitch down, or 1 row down around that next stitch. Through, and you're going to be tightening these. I'm just keeping them loose so you can see. Through the next stitch in the ear. And I'm going to come down another row around the stitch, keeping in line with this pin. I'm going to pull mine tight now before I can't. Go in that next stitch on the ear. We're going to go down a row again. You should be at your pin. Go around the stitch and come up in the hole that your pin was in. and then through that next stitch. And then I always go around twice on the bottom one, and sometimes I'll catch, so if you see there's a bit of a space there, sometimes I'll just come up and I'll catch a piece of that stitch just so it comes down close and it's nice and round. And then we're just gonna tie it somewhere close to the bottom. And then we're going to stick it back in as close to the ear as you can get it. And then out the middle, center somewhere, kind of even where you're working. So I'm in this row, and I actually stayed in that row when I came out. And then we're just going to let that hang out for a minute while we do the other ear. So get that on your darning needle. And again, you're going to start behind the pin and come up in the hole that the pin is in. Go through the first stitch of the ear. You're going to go down a row, keeping in line with this pin, around the stitch, in the next stitch of the ear, down a row, around the stitch, into the next stitch of the ear. Oh, I can't get it. There we go. Then down a row around the stitch, and you should be where your pin is. So again, you're behind the pin, and you're coming up through the hole that the pin is in. Do that last stitch, and if you went around twice, you'll do that on this ear as well. And then if you caught up here at the next stitch line, do that. Give it a good pull to bring it in. And then again, tie it nice and close to the bottom of the ear. And come down in close to the ear and out where your other string came out. And now you're going to give them one loose tie, just like we did the arms. Wrap it around the head, turn him around, and then you can leave him like this and just tie, or if you want to bring his head in to kind of give him a bit of a shape to his head, you can just pull those like we did the arms. And sometimes it kind of pops the cheeks out a bit too. Then when you're happy with where they are, you'll just give them a better tie. And then thread them back on and put them out the back. Go in that same hole, and then it's down out the back somewhere. Give that a cut. All right, now we're going to do the tail, and again, you can start any way you prefer as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'm going to be doing my knot with the loop on the end as if I was making a chain. Insert my hook, grab my yarn, pull up, and chain 1. And remember, that does not count as a stitch. That just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, going over top of the tail, we're going to do 8 single crochets into the loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then pull that tail if you need to close that hole. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we're going to do 8 single crochets all the way around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Row 3, we're going to do 8 single crochets all the way around. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then on our 8th one we're going to change color. So just bring your 2 loops up on your hook, grab your striping color, and don't cut your orange or whatever color you're using for the body, because we're just going to be flipping them back and forth like we did the arms and the legs and the ear. And we're just going to tie that nice and tight, as close to the hook as we can get it, 2 or 3 times. And then pull that new color through to finish off that last stitch. Row 4, 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then on our 8th one we're going to change back to the orange. So bring your 2 loops up, drop your black, grab your orange, and pull that through, and then pull that other stitch tight if you need to. Row 5, we're just going to do 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Row 6, we're going to do 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then on our 8th one, we're going to go in and pull up, leaving the 2 loops on our hook, drop our orange, pick up our black, and pull that through to finish off the stitch. Row 7, 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and on our 8th one, we're just going to bring up our 2 loops, drop our black, pick up our orange, bring that through to finish off the stitch, and pull our other yarn if we need to. Row 8, 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Row 9, 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and on our 8th one, we're going to change color. Row 10, 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and on our 8th one, we're going to change color again. So drop the black, pick up the orange, pull that through. Row 11, 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Row 12, 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then on our 8th one, change color. So drop your orange, pick up your black, pull it through. Row 13, 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then on our 8th one, change color. So drop the black, pick up the orange, pull it through. Row 14, 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Row 15, 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and on our 8th one, we're going to change color. So grab your black, pull that through. Row 16, 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then our 8th one, we're going to change back to orange, and this is where I stop striping black, so I'm going to cut my black off before I tie it. If you want to go further and make your tail longer, just keep repeating the pattern that we've been doing. 2 rows of orange, 1 row of black until it's as long as you want, and then you will cut your black on your last row of black. All right, so I'm actually going to cut that a little shorter. That's going to really be in my way. Then I'm just going to pull it through. Row 17, 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Row 18, 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And now we can take our stitch marker out. Oh shoot, I forgot to say stuff as you go, so I will put a little note again up at the top when we first get going on this so you can get a little heads up. Luckily, I got a great tip from a viewer about 2 years ago or so about using the scissors, and that is the best thing I have found so far. So I'm just going to put lightly stuffed tail in here. I want to make sure it's at the end, but I don't want it to be too firm. I probably already put more than I needed. I just want it to flop around. I guess you don't even have to stuff it if you didn't want to. But if you want it to stand up kind of and stick out, you want to put a little bit of stuffing in there. Then when you're happy with the amount, put your hook back in, and then we'll fold it up and close it. And just like we did before, in the next stitch, in the last stitch, and we're going to do 3 single crochets across. So 1, 2, and 3. Make sure you're through all the layers. And then just tie that off, leaving a little bit of a tail to close that up. Okay, let's get our tail threaded on now. And usually what I do is I'll just set him to the side and kind of decide where I want the tail to sit. I never put it down low on the bottom. I usually put it about halfway or a third of the way up his body. But with these stripes, you can kind of all just, I'm just going to go one row up from the last stripe. So I'm going to be going around this row right here. So just kind of find the center of where you think his tail should go. And then we're just going to go at the bottom of the row, up around the row, and then around a stitch. So just like we did the ears, only we're going around a row across instead of down through stitches. And I'll do this loosely so you can kind of see what I'm doing here. So then I'm going to move over one stitch and go up around that row and up through a stitch in the tail. And then same thing, over a stitch, around the row, and then in that third stitch of the tail. So 3 stitches on the tail, 3 stitches around a row. I might have to cinch this up by hand here now. Okay, make sure you're doing yours tight. I just did mine loose so you could see what I was doing. Then I always do a second time around on the end before I tie it. And then just give it a tie. Somewhere fairly close to where you ended by the tail. And then just down and out the back or bottom somewhere. Give that a cut. And there we go, our cute little tiger with his little tail. I almost forgot about the little claws. All you're going to do is grab a scrap piece of black if you have one. I'll thread that on, and I'm going to pin it so you can see the direction you want to go. So what you want to do is you want to start off, we're going to be going around this second row of orange. So I want to find the front of my toe. So I'm going to pick here as the front, and I'm going on the top side of that row. And then I'm going to get another pin and just go down to the next stitch below. So that's going to be my one claw around there. And then when I go to make the second claw, I'm going to move over 2 holes on the top of the row and 1 hole on the bottom of the row. Then I'm going to do the same thing for the claw on the other side. So I'm going to skip 2 holes. Going in that third one, that's on the top, and then on the bottom I skip 1 hole and go in that second hole on the bottom. So our claws are going to go around that row through those stitches with the pins. So I'm just going to start somewhere below. You can go to the top or the bottom, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to go from bottom to top, I guess. Leave some thread on the end for tying, and then you can go in the top of the row. So I can get rid of those 2 pins now. And then I'm just going to go around, come back up, and I'm going to go around that row twice. So that's once. Then on my second one, I'm going to come over to the bottom pin on the other side. That'll give me my second time around the row, and I'll be starting in the next stitch on the bottom. Then I'll be going up around onto the top. So remember, we're doing 2 times around, so that's once. And then this will be on our second round. Go in and come over to the other pin on the bottom. And then we're going to go around this row twice. So that's once. And then when we do our second one, we'll just come out where we started. So we can tie that off. And there's our little claws. And we'll just give that a tie. Not too tight. Just tight enough to hold. And then we'll put them down and out to the bottom of the foot somewhere. Pull it just enough to make sure the knot's gone through. And then you may have to fix that little spot where you tied. And there you go. So I'm just going to let you finish the rest of the claws on your own, and I will say goodbye. So thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell. Not only does it help me out, but you will also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, shares, and comments are always appreciated. I'd also like to say thank you to everyone who has been so kind to have hit the thanks button and sent me such generous donations. You will now be listed at the end of all my next videos as my super thanks friends. And as always, take care, be safe, and happy crocheting.